I, Douglas Ducote, under the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're active in about 15 campuses, and we're growing very, very quickly. And keep in mind, this is not just a flash in the pan movement. We're going to become an institution to give them the power and the confidence to stand up and let their voice be heard. I started this organization when I was 18 years old. I decided not to go to college. I didn't get my dream school, which was the United States Military Academy at West Point. I have this idea to galvanize and motivate the future youth of this country around a core set of ideas, not just political parties or politicians. And the ideas are really America's the greatest country in the history of the world. The Constitution is the greatest political document ever written, and free enterprise is the most assured way to lift people out of poverty and create prosperity for all. Those are the three big ideas. And I think that's something that can win. We as Christians are called to go into the public arena to correct error with truth. So I go to college campuses and there's a lot of error. We're all sinners. We all live in error. I'm far more interested in what God wants of me than what I want from God.
I have to say this without getting emotional, but I'm very proud of my husband. And I know many of you are too. You have worked so hard. And I know a lot of you have seen, obviously, his videos on TikTok and all the stuff he does on campus. But no one gets to see him from my angle except for myself and our children. And the sacrifices that he made this year, he's amazing. I'm very blessed.
And I would not have been able to do any of it without Erica. And that's the real truth. I'll tell you what. You are here as a grassroots response to the top-down revolution happening in this country. I want our Turning Point USA students to receive a round of applause. These are the freedom fighters of America.
The media said that Turning Point could never run a ground game. They weren't experienced. They didn't know Charlie, right?
This is the greatest generational realignment since Woodstock. This generation is the most conservative generation that we have seen in well over 50 years, and the numbers show it. What young people especially are screaming at is they say, give me a structure that I can live my life by. And especially with young men, more challenging of them, more saying, you know what, honestly, I'm not going to talk down to you. Stop being a boy and become a man. You want to learn what that means? Come to church and I'll tell you what it means to become a man. Because we have the greatest story ever told. What can I do to save the country? You answer that question every single day, because you are doing the work to save this beautiful republic. You are doing something that is bigger than you.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
And you will be. You will be remembered for your faith, for your courage, for standing up over right versus wrong, for being a leader for the lost youth of our society today. a good man, a good father, a good husband, a friend, a Christian, was killed based on his political beliefs and because he debated the left. He was killed because he was winning the debate. He was killed because many of today's youth were listening to his message and understanding the truth, and that they were being lied to by the Democrat leadership in Washington, D.C., by the mainstream media, by liberal pundits all across this country. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful, and I appreciate it very, very much. If it's your first time tuning in to the Douglas Ducote Show, I thank you and I welcome you to this platform, regardless of what your political party is, regardless if you align with liberals or Democrats or conservatives or Republicans. I welcome everyone here, regardless of your faith, regardless of your sexual orientation, regardless of the color of your skin. You're welcome to this podcast. That being said, sadly, like many on the right and even some on the left, we receive death threats because of our speech. We're referred to by the left as hate speech. We're referred to as racists and bigots because we refuse to bend to their warped ideology. And I will dive into a little bit about that here in a moment, but first let me make something very, very clear to anyone listening out there, especially the liberals and the Democrats, which I call out on a regular basis, as well as Republicans. For those that have been tuning into this show for years now, you know that I don't care what party you align with. Yes, I grew up and was a Democrat for many, many years till I saw the light and realized that it was not the party that aligned with my ideology, didn't align with my morals and beliefs. It had been changed. It had been hijacked by a far left liberal society. And more Democrats are realizing that. But regardless of where you align, you're welcome here. You're not shunned away. We want you here. We want you to listen to what we're saying. And maybe, just maybe, you'll come away from listening to people like me and understanding that we're not what we're being painted out to be. Now, when you hear me use the word Democrat or the word liberal in a negative sense, I'm not talking about your average liberal out there. I'm talking about far left liberals that would rather see you dead than lose the debate to you. When I talk about Democrats in a negative way, I'm not talking about your average Democrat that's out there working for a living, trying to put food on the table, take care of their family, raise their children, take them to soccer practice and cheerleading practice. I'm talking about the Democrat leadership up in Washington, D.C. that have lost their damn minds, in my personal belief. I'm talking about those that believe that, for instance, this shirt I'm wearing or the flags behind me
referring to them as racist and bigot signs when you have absolutely no clue about history, of our flag, of our country, or what MAGA even stands for. So let's start with MAGA, because the left has a wonderful talking points about what this means, and they're wrong. They're dead wrong. MAGA is not about racist bigots, as the far left and Democrats in Congress would like you to believe. The phrase "Make America Great Again" has been used by politicians for years. In fact, guess who the very first presidential candidate was that on the campaign trail started the slogan, "Make America Great Again," and not a single person on the left or Democrat said anything negative about the use of that word. Former President Bill Clinton, Democrat, way before Donald Trump was ever a politician. But it was Trump who trademarked it by putting it on a red hat and a red shirt. So what does MAGA actually mean? Not what the liberals tell you, not what the Democrats tell you. What does it mean to those of us that are proud of it? It's a call to restore America's strength, prosperity, and traditional values. It's a call to patriotism for our country, our flag, for border security, for law and order across this country, for the support of our military, for economic growth, and the skepticism of globalism. Is it a political movement? Yeah, it is. MAGA now refers not just to as a slogan, but as a conservative movement that prioritizes America First policies. Many Republicans running for office often identify as pro-MAGA. Now, criticism and opposition from Dems in DC and far-left liberals. Opponents sometimes use MAGA as a negative sense, suggesting extremism or far-right ideology. Let me make something very clear. I condemned far-right ideology just like I condemn far-left ideology. There is a difference between far-left liberals and liberals. Far-left Democrats and Republicans or conservatives. There's a difference between the Democrat leadership in Washington, D.C. and everyday Democrats or liberals in America. It was none other than Democrat President Joe Biden who referred to MAGA Republicans when criticizing Trump aligned with conservatives and calling us evil and a threat to democracy. But in short, MAGA literally means make America great again. Over time, it's become a symbol, a brand, a political identity representing Trump's America First movement. But far-left liberals and Democrats in Congress don't want America to be any better than any other country on God's earth. They don't want our borders secure. They want to defund our law enforcement. Hell, just today, Alihan Omar and Rashida Tlaib are calling for defunding our military because they don't want to ever see our military or our country be able to defend itself and go to war. That's the way they think. That's batshit crazy, in my personal opinion. There is only one group of humans, which I often refer to as subhuman, on this planet that spews hate speech and, in my opinion, have blood on their hands for the death of our friend Charlie Clerk. And that is far left liberals and the Democrats in Washington, D.C. and our Congress. And sadly, the news media won't call it out for what it really is. They won't address what hate speech actually is and what inciting violence actually is. And they want to try and side with the Democrats on this issue and say that Republicans and conservatives need to tone it down. They even say that about me. So let's get an understanding of this. And don't take my word for it. Use ChatGPT. Hell, use Google. Hate speech is when you're saying anyone that disagrees with you or your ideology is a Nazi, or comparing them to Hitler, which the Democrats in Washington, D.C. and Congress do on a regular basis. Now, for your average college student out there or high school student, when I started hearing Democrat members in Congress referring to Republicans and conservatives or MAGA people as Nazis, they don't even teach in school anymore about World War II or Nazi Germany or Hitler. And if they ask an adult or they Google it, they get the same thing that anybody else would get. And that is that any human being that understands the history of Nazis during World War II and Hitler agree that it's a good thing Hitler was killed. It's a good thing that those in the Nazi Party were held accountable for their actions and hung when the war was over with. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that knows the history of what the Nazis did to the Jews. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that believes they didn't deserve what they had coming to them. Just like we feel about the terrorists that are trying to kill us because we're Americans, or anyone else in the world that sides with America. The terrorists that perpetrated 9/11. Most people, regardless of your religious beliefs, are okay with those type people being killed, whether it's on the battlefield or otherwise. Does it make it okay to feel that that person died? Well, if you put it in context as to why we feel that way, facts versus fiction, it's very clear that evil shouldn't exist. it should be held accountable, one way or the other. And when it comes to me saying that it's okay that Hitler died, it's a good thing that we killed the Nazis, it's a good thing that terrorists were blown up and killed because of the things they did, physically did, to other humans. It's unspeakable. None of which Charlie Clerk or Trump or MAGA supporters have done. Although you wouldn't know that listening to Ali Omar or Rashida Tlaib or AOC or Cory Booker or Hankum Jeffries or Jasmine Crockett, Adam Schiff. The list goes on and on and on of all the hateful things that the Democrats in Washington, D.C. and the far left liberals keep saying about us in red. Us that wear shirts like this proudly. Us that fly the flag. I got a flag flying in my front yard every single day. I fought 4 times in 4 different conflicts for everyone in America's that's an American constitutional rights of freedom of speech. But there's a fine line between what's covered in our Constitution and what's free speech and what's hate speech. When your speech comes to a point that it inflicts violence on other people because of what you said, and that's what we're dealing with today in our society, then you should be held accountable for that. I got a text message just about an hour and a half ago from someone. Actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't a text message. It was an actual audio message complaining that Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice head, said that she's going after those that are conducting hate speech. And they're upset about that. So that's why we're going to talk a little bit about what hate speech is. Those things that I mentioned, for instance, calling us Nazis or Hitler, that we're a threat to democracy, that we should die, that we should be beaten up, that people should take to the streets and fight us, that all Trump supporters should die. That's hate speech. The things I just mentioned above have all been said by current members of the House Democrats, Americans, calling for violence against us. Not to mention all the far left liberals out there on social media celebrating the death of Charlie Clerk or any human that disagrees with their political beliefs. Too often liberals refer to me and my podcasts as hate speech. I believe some of the actual wording that many of you have heard before, because they put out YouTube videos about me, call me a progressive, conservative, hate speech creator and a social media insurrectionist. Which proves that they obviously have no clue what hate speech actually is. Saying that a member of Congress or a doctor or a sheriff or a president should resign, be impeached, or removed from office, as I do on a regular basis, is not hate speech. It's freedom of speech, and it's protected by our Constitution. And then I'm also telling you why I recommend that they be removed from office. What these current Democrat leaders in Congress are saying out loud in front of a camera is 100% hate speech. And I do pray to God that Pam Bundy does follow up with what she said today and puts their ass in jail. The only way to eradicate hate speech is to start holding those that do it accountable for their actions. But at the same time, one must recognize the difference between hate speech and freedom of speech. That's two very different and distinguished things. In fact, I do not, nor have I ever conducted myself in a way that promotes hate speech, because I'm not a far left liberal or a liberal Democrat. And that is who is doing the hate speech. They say horrible things about Republicans and conservatives and about me and my moderators and anyone that supports MAGA or President Trump because they're uneducated and they don't understand the facts of what we're actually saying. They can't comprehend what's coming out of our mouths. Calling someone a Nazi, a racist bigot, when they've never said anything racist. Calling them a threat to democracy when they've never done anything or said anything that's a threat to our democracy, other than the fact that you didn't like what they said. And referring to those with special needs as retarded, or referring to gay people as faggots, is a classic example of hate speech. Core characteristics of hate speech are targeting, protective characteristics, speech that attack, demeans, or expresses hatred towards people based on traits such as race, religion, national origin, gender or gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, dehumanizing or inciting harm, using slurs, promoting stereotypes in a way meant to degrade, encouraging violence, discrimination, celebrating harm or death of a group or individual based on those traits. That's what hate speech is. When it comes to intent or context, courts and platforms often consider whether the speaker is trying to persuade others to act violently or whether the words pose a true threat. Context matters. A political debate, a comedy routine, and a direct threat are judged differently. Legal versus platform standards are pretty damn simple. Legally in the United States, hate speech itself is not illegal unless it crosses into incitement to immediately cause violence, which is what's happening. True threat, serious expression or intent to harm others, which is truly what's happening. Harassment, sustained targeted conduct, which is truly happening. When it comes to social media, workplace policies, most platforms and employers ban hate speech broadly to protect users or employees, even when the speech is legally protected. And we're actually watching right now, as I speak, hundreds of far-left liberals and liberal Democrats all across America losing their jobs for celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk and inciting violence. American Airlines has already put several pilots and flight attendants on leave. So is Delta. So is Southwest. They all are doing it. And they're probably going to get fired, as they should be. Same goes for Home Depot. Same goes for actually Google, Best Buy, Walmart, Target, restaurants across this country. Even a Secret Service agent protecting the President of the United States is on leave right now for promoting hate on social media. Americans celebrating the death of another American. Have you ever heard someone on the right, a conservative, a Christian, calling those on the left or Democrats the type vile, horrible things that the left and the Democrats in Washington, D.C. are calling our side? If you have, please share it with me, and I'll be damn sure to share it with everybody else on my next podcast. But I don't think you can find it. Can you find some Republicans saying some things that are kind of hateful? Sure you can. Has Donald Trump said some things that are hateful that I don't align myself with? Neither should anybody else. Yeah, way more than I care to mention. But I didn't vote for Donald Trump because of his mean tweets or because of locker room talk with other men around. I voted for Donald Trump to fix our broken country, to fix our economy, our law enforcement, our border, to secure a safe place for Americans in the streets of America, in places like Chicago, in Philadelphia, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Memphis, Washington, D.C. I voted for a man that has a backbone and a set of balls that is willing to stand up against evil forces, whether they're an American or a foreign terrorist. So I'll take the mean tweets all damn day long. In short, hate speech is generally understood as speech that attacks people based on inherent traits, race, religion, and gender, in a way that dehumanizes, threatens, or incites harm. That being said, under U.S. law, much of what people call hate speech remains protected free speech, unless it directly incites violence, is a true threat, or is targeted harassment. All of which the Democrat leaders in Congress and the far left engage in daily. I've been calling it out for years. And because of that, daily people on the right are being physically assaulted, attacked, and killed because of hate speech. Do you see the difference if you're a liberal or a Democrat? And again, when I use the term liberal or Democrat, I'm not talking about your average Democrat or liberal out there that's trying to make a living and put food on the table and isn't into politics. I'm talking about those far left, liberal, hateful people in America. They're saying things and doing things that are causing good people to be injured, hurt, and in Charlie's case, killed. Such as.
Did you guys see that? That activist in America, Charlie Kirk, he got shot. Did you see that? That guy loves gun violence and he got shot. Did you see that? Oh man, Charlie Kirk. You know, to the Charlie Kirk family. Did you see all that blood that came out of his body? It was like, to every Zionist, every Christian Zionist, may you be just like that shop, the Target. All his followers, just like the shop, the Target. I'm not saying that violence isn't the way, so don't misconstrue my words, okay? Did you see all that blood? That dude's dead. There is a fucking God.
You know what he was referring to? He was referring to a small clip taken from an interview that Charlie Kirk was given when he was asked about gun violence. They took a small portion without telling you what was in front of it or what was after it to paint Charlie as someone who said it was okay for people to die in order to continue supporting our Second Amendment. It's okay. Some people are just going to die. They took it out of context. That's what he's referring to, because he didn't hear the whole speech before and after. Nope, he didn't. And the liberal media, CNN and MSNBC, didn't share with you everything that Charlie said so that you could understand what he meant by what he said in that little small piece that they aired. But if you listen to everything he said prior to that and after that, then it makes sense. And then people like what you just witnessed wouldn't be so damn hateful. So what did he say?
And that it's important to have the right to defend ourselves and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. So I'm a big Second Amendment fan, but I think most politicians are cowards when it comes to defending why we have a Second Amendment. This is why I would not be a good politician, or maybe I would, I don't know, but because I actually speak my mind. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. I love hunting. The Second Amendment is not even about personal defense. That is important. The Second Amendment is there, God forbid, so that you can defend yourself against a tyrannical government.
Come on.
Governments tend to get tyrannical, and that if people need an ability to protect themselves and their communities and their families. Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. And that is part of liberty.
Wow.
Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen.
Right.
You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home,
yes,
by having more armed guards in front of schools. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. Sure. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know. How did we stop shootings at baseball games? Because we have armed guards outside of baseball games. That's why. How did we stop all the shootings at airports? We have armed guards outside of airports. How do we stop all the shootings at banks? We have armed guards outside of banks. How do we stop all the shootings at gun shows? Notice there's not a lot of mass shootings at gun shows. There's all these guns because everyone's armed. If our money and our sporting events and our airplanes have armed guards, why don't our children?
See what happens when you put it into context? The entire speech before and after the little fucking clip that the Democrats up in Washington, D.C. and CNN and MSNBC are sharing, and the liberals are sharing, that Charlie Clark believes that it's okay for people to die, that he encourages it for the Second Amendment. See what happens when you take something out of context like that? That's not what Charlie Clark said at all, is it? What he said was common sense. We have to understand that if we're going to defend our rights for our Second Amendment, people are going to die for no apparent good reason and for good reasons. It's just part of fact. No different than cars. When he said 50,000 people die on the roads every year, we've come to accept that people are going to drink and drive and kill people or themselves, or text and drive and kill people or themselves. And we accept that as a society, that it's going to happen. And that it's not okay that it happens, but we accept that we will have those deaths because we need that vehicle. And that's no different than guns. And that's the point that Charlie Clark was making. That the liberals, far left liberals, and Democrats in Washington, D.C. want to lie to you about. And then they're laughing. Charlie Clark died because of a bullet? Because he's now one of those that he said it's okay to die for bullets, for Second Amendment. You couldn't make this hate up if you tried, sadly. And it's not just far left liberals. It's not just the Democrats in Washington, D.C. that are spreading this hate. No, it's not. It's men that are supposedly speaking on behalf of God. Men that are preachers, reverends, like Jamal Bryant, for instance.
About all of these Negro preachers who've been, in fact, talking about that this man that was killed was the answer to Christ in the earth. Y'all ain't saying nothing. They having moments of silence in black churches all over the country over a man that was racist and a white supremacist. How dare you compare him to Martin Luther King? The only thing that Charlie Crist and Martin Luther King got in common is both of them was killed by a white man. After that, they got nothing else in common.
That's strange, Jamal Bryant. You believe that the only thing that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Charlie Kirk had in common is that they were both killed by white men? How about the most obvious fact that they were both Christians? How about that? They were both wrongfully killed. They both died for what they believed in. They were both husbands, and they were both fathers. They both fought for freedom and for liberty. They both believed in American exceptionalism. They both believed in biblical justice, emphasis on biblical. They both led nonviolent movements. They both believed in the Constitution.
Let's test your knowledge. Don't open it up. Right. What is the 10th Amendment?
They both despised victim mentality. They both saw the value of the nuclear family. They both believed in the betterment of the black community. And finally, they both left legacies that you, Jamal Bryant, will never be able to live up to, and that you will never, ever have. Cute blouse at that, too.
Pastor Jamal Bryant, you call yourself a pastor, but you are exactly the kind of religious windbag that Jesus would have said to your face, your father is the devil. I absolutely believe, without a shadow of doubt, that Jesus would have told you, Jamal Bryant, your father is of the devil. And he was speaking to the religious leaders of his time. You take to your pulpit after Charlie's been assassinated and call him a so-called Christian and point out his skin color as if that has anything to do with anything? And then poke fun at Charlie? Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, you, Jamal, are working for the devil. And you are feeding your entire flock a bunch of lies, just like your father. And that goes for any other pastor that was talking the same kind of trashy nonsense about Charlie. He had more boldness than you, more faith than you, and he was actually speaking the truth and trying to bring healing. So any pastor out there that's talking trash about Charlie, your father is the father of lies. Satan. That's who your daddy is.
David Harris put that really, really simple. I agree 100%. Today, many of you may not be aware of what recently took place in the House of Representatives. And it speaks volumes of where the hate is in America. And it backs up when I tell you that the leadership in the Democrat Party up in Washington, D.C. are godless. And they support violence. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat, New York, shared just a brief 4-word response when asked by reporters today why he missed a congressional prayer for Charlie Kirk that was held in the halls of Congress. He said, "I had a meeting." Jeffries said when the matter was broached during his afternoon press conference. And then House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, announced that Congress would hold that prayer later that evening to honor the conservative activists. Charlie Kirk was assassinated, as we all know, when a gunman opened fire during the college campus speaking event in Utah. Only a handful of House Democrats showed up for the prayer, side by side with dozens of Republican lawmakers. When asked why more Democrats did not attend, Jeffries said Tuesday, "I don't know. I guess you'll have to talk to the individual Democrats as to what else was going on and why they weren't present, why they weren't there," he said. The prayer was held in the U.S. Capitol Statuary Hall at 6 p.m. Democrat lawmakers who did attend were Representative Tom Schulze, Democrat New York, Maria Glucksman, Prezes, Democrat Washington, John Larson, Democrat Connecticut, Jimmy Panza, Democrat California, Debbie Dingell, Democrat Michigan, Chris Pappas, Democrat New Hampshire, and Don Davis, Democrat North Carolina. No other Democrat appeared because, they had a meeting. They were too busy. Now, Speaker Johnson, however, downplayed the lack of Democrat attendance and comments to reporters, which is why so many Republicans and conservatives have had enough of him as Speaker. Because he has no backbone, he has no balls. His response was typical. I honestly did not even see the composition of the group. He said when asked if he was disappointed in the number of Democrats who showed up. He then said, "I'm glad it was bipartisan, and I wish more had participated, and I'm not sure why they didn't." So I don't know what else we can do other than have an all-member bipartisan Prayer? How about this, sir? How about step aside and allow someone else who's willing to take a stand against evil Democrats to be the House Speaker? Because you, sir, are not cutting it. And you're a disgrace to Republicans and conservatives. And you're from my home state. And I, for one, would like to see you step aside. You do not deserve to be House Speaker because you refuse to stand up against evil Democrats in Washington, D.C. and calling them out for what they actually are. Just a few days ago, when you first mentioned this prayer, Jasmine Crockett, Democrat, stood up and said, "Fuck no," as loud as she could. No, I'm sorry, she didn't say fuck no. She said, "Fuck that." Prayer. And that's just one of thousands of things that I've shared with you that's come out of Jasmine Ghetto Crockett's mouth. And yet, as Speaker of the House, you have the power to expel from Congress, kick them out, no longer a member of Congress, her and her hateful, bigot, racist friends like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Hankum Jeffries, Cory Booker, Adam Shifty Shithead. You have the power to expel them for their hate speech against American conservatives and Republicans. And you do nothing because you have no backbone. You're not a real man, and you're not willing to stand up against evil. And now the Department of Justice and the FBI is having to do what you should have already done and have the ability to do. Republicans won back the House, the Senate, and kept 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And what are you doing to hold these evil people accountable in the halls of our Congress? Not a damn thing. So Pam Bondi is going after people like this.
My name is Scarlett Kelly, and I am officially declaring war on the Republican Party. If you are a Republican on TikTok and you want to interact with me, you deserve to die. You deserve to be shot. You deserve whatever suffering could possibly come to you. If you are a Republican and try to start any of that kind of nonsense with me in person, you will lose your life. This is war. I am not joking. It's done. You are not an American anymore.
So violent.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core.
Hey, let me shut down the Senate. We are at war.
We're at a war right now.
We are at war.
So you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
And that's why the gloves are off.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
And yes, there are many threats to democracy. We see it with these extreme candidates.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
You can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
What the American public want is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. This is an actual fight.
You know, this is literally call to arms.
The MAGA movement is a threat.
But Michelle says that, when they go low,
we go high.
No. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high.
When they go low, we kick them.
We take them to the mud and choke them out.
And make sure that they stay down. And you know what? Kick them when they're down because they deserve it.
Get up in the face of some Congress people.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your...
We have to fight this in the streets.
We're going to fight it in the streets.
It's time to step out of your comfort zone and step out into the streets.
To our Republican colleagues, if you do not see the light, we will bring the fire. Resist! You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
He's not going to have a third term. He may not finish this term.
That's the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know.
That is hate speech. That is inciting violence. That is why Pam Bundy, Kash Patel, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance have said enough is enough. Now, let's hope they actually stand on their words and perform the action. Because there is a difference between conservatives and Republicans, liberals and Democrats, the far left and the far right. No one should be advocating for violence against American citizens based on your political views and beliefs. Wrong is wrong. Hate has no place in our society, and it has to be rooted out. Inciting violence, which is what the Democrat Party in Washington, D.C. and the far left liberals are doing. I've proven that to you over and over and over again on this podcast by sharing with you their own words so you can see it right here coming out of their mouths. And you don't want to know what the biggest difference is in the right versus the left? This sums it up really, really clear.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
To Erica and her children, and to all of those that have been harmed by the far left and by the Democrats in Washington, D.C., I'm so sorry. It's uncalled for. I'm so ashamed to say that I was ever affiliated with the Democrat Party. It disgusts me today. And the more and more Democrats that realize the actual truth by listening, that's all you have to do, is listen to what the Democrats in Washington, D.C. is coming out of their mouth. and what these liberals on social media are saying about conservatives and Republicans, and you tell me that you align with those values and beliefs, then you're the evil that needs to be eradicated and stopped, not us. You don't see Republicans and conservatives calling for the death of those on the left. You don't see conservatives and Republicans burning and looting buildings and police cars and attacking people on the left, or because you said something mean. You see liberals and liberal Democrats on the left, the far left, doing that. And that's a fact. But your average liberal and your average Democrat out there, they align more with conservatives and Republicans than you can ever possibly imagine. They're not the people that we should be pointing a finger at. The finger needs to be pointed squarely at the far left and the Democrat leadership in Washington, D.C. They're the ones that are truly hateful, bigotry, and a threat to our democracy. And they need to be voted out of office, not shot, not killed, but voted out of office. And you can do that, Democrats and liberals, by waking up and listening to the horrible, hateful things that are being said by every single, quote, leader in the Democrat Party today. Listen to what they're saying about their opponents. And if you truly align yourself with their beliefs, you're ungodly and you're a horrible person. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. I thank you very, very much for tuning in to tonight's show. Things are going to be different as we move forward after tonight with this show. I'm going to be focusing more on exposing evil and sharing that with the world, more so than my typical reporting on the news. Although when something of importance to American patriots is happening political-wise, yes, I will still talk about that. But there's a movement that's been started. There is something that is happening right now in America, something that is brewing that we've never, ever seen before. There's an uprising that is happening. And that is that those of us on the right are tired of being pushed around by far left liberals and the Democrats in Washington, D.C. And we're no longer going to sit back and let you treat us like shit. We're going to expose you for who you are. We're going to expose you for the evil that exists inside your heart. And that way, we'll be certain that Democrats are never, ever in charge of this country, at least in our lifetime. Because they are not the party that I used to proudly belong to. I don't recognize that party anymore. It's hijacked by far left liberal ideology, and it is destroying the core of this country and our values and everything that our founding fathers built with lies, deceitfulness, and inciting violence. They're responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. I had a wonderful time, for the most part, in Roswell, New Mexico. I went there, as you know, for the air races. I was there for 6 days. Me and my friend Bobby, that I've known since I was 16 years old. He's also an aviator, former military veteran, former law enforcement officer. So we have a few things in common. We go back a long, long time. But in the midst of having this stress-free vacation of just enjoying what we enjoy, which is aviation, Charlie was killed. So a lot of my focus was on that. And it got me thinking a lot about my own mortality. It's got my wife very afraid about my safety, because I get death threats constantly. I could sit here, in fact, I probably will in the future. I don't have a problem doing it, printing out all these threats that I get on a daily basis calling for me to kill myself, calling for the death of my family, my animals, my pets, my children, because they disagree with my political and religious views. That's hate. And as many people know that follow me, they've already attempted to assassinate me once. Me and my special needs son. And here I am. Will I go down like Charlie did one day? I hope not. But the most important thing about it is that silencing Charlie is not silencing our movement. All they did was make us rise up and make people on the left and make Democrats realize just how much these two sides differ and which side is evil compared to which side is not. I will not back down. I will not surrender. I will continue to sit here on Tuesdays and Thursdays and bring you the truth and factual information, regardless of how much the left tries to threaten me and my family for what I do. I am a warrior. I fought for those beliefs and values that our forefathers, our founders of this country, built. I fought for our flag, for our freedoms, for our constitutional rights, for all Americans. And I will continue to do that until the day I die. If anything breaks of major importance between now and Thursday night, I'll be sure to either do a video about it or do a breaking news story about it. Until then, I hope that whatever you're doing, you're safe. You make sure that those around you know that you love them. The worst thing in the world is to lose somebody that means something to you and they died without you knowing how they really felt, or vice versa. So make sure you tell those that you love them. And as always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. And wherever you're watching me tonight live, whether it's on YouTube or Rumble or X, please be sure to share the channel, share the videos with your family and friends on your social media platforms, and help us continue to grow this movement, this recognition of what is right and just in America. Help us be gallant and overcome evil that's in our society. Together, we have the ability and the power to make that happen and make that become a reality. Because there is nothing that the left can do to stop us. Even by silencing Charlie's voice, they couldn't stop the fact that he was a man of God, a Christian. And today he's with his God, our Savior, who died for our sins. And when my time on this earth comes, don't shed a tear for me. Be happy for me, because I'm with my Lord, Jesus Christ, our Savior. And one day, all of mankind, all of every living thing on this planet will have to leave. That's just a fact of life. The difference is, when you depart this earth, did you do so by doing everything in your power to help mankind and your neighbor? And did you make it right with the things that you've done? And we've all sinned. Did you make it right before you departed? And did you have Jesus Christ in your heart? That means more than anything else that you do while you're living on this earth. Have a wonderful evening. God bless each and every one of you. And I'll see you back here on Thursday night. Thank you very much for joining me. Good night.